And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bullmoose Beer Talks. Today, I'm here with my good friend, Micheal Williams. Introduce yourself, Micheal.
Hey, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Now, you are a writer, producer, and director of a number of independent films, right?
Right. Yep. My film in the last 2 years, but also a lot of short videos and things.
Hold on a second. Can you repeat that? You kind of were choppy a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, my last 2 films are Auslan and The Atoning. They're feature films that are available on Amazon Prime, places like that. And I've also done a lot of shorts and music videos in the meantime, and I'm working on my next feature now.
Awesome. And you're based out of Columbus, Mississippi, right? And that's actually how you and I met, right?
Yeah, we met through Jack Krakovich. He was in Columbus, and I live in West Point.
Correct. Sorry about that. So let's start a little bit from the beginning, right? So you kind of introduced yourself. First and foremost, what are you drinking today?
Well, I've got a gin and tonic, so it's basically a healthy gin and tonic that uses stevia instead of sugar, and I've got LaCroix, which is 0 calorie. And I got some Amsterdam gin that I steeped in mint from my garden, and I've got some like fresh mint that I'm growing here in Atlanta on Cody's porch. So it's kind of this little healthy gin and tonic type of
drink. Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, what got you into the film career field? What made you want to start doing this independent film?
Well, I guess I'm originally an archaeologist. And then once I realized I didn't want to be an archaeologist, I just liked Indiana Jones. I started watching other films. It's like, oh, I think I like the idea of storytelling and filmmaking. So I started making films in high school and then went to a film festival my senior year of high school. And then that's when I discovered, oh, you can go to film school. You have to doing that, making films, graduated from high school or from college later with a film degree, and then started working in film and making my own projects, but also having a video photography business to pay the bills in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying more and more film full time to where that's what I'm doing, but also I still do commercials and things like that on the side.
That's kind of cool. Now, in addition to the feature films, and we can talk all about what those were, when I had first met you, is before you had done your first feature film, which was more than an hour long. You had done a number of shorter films, right? Can you talk about what some of those were?
So I had a short film called Illumination, Kane, and Lucas. Those came directly before Auslan. So Lucas was kind of the first time I tried to explore something on what if scenarios. So it's kind of like what if of where was a real person, what would it be like? And so it was drama about transforming itself. And that was kind of a precursor to Auslan being the idea of what if scenario. But then Illumination was a sci-fi, kind of my version of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then Kane was a superhero film. So all those were 10 to 25-minute films that I did before Auslan that kind of led up to what it kind of gave me the ability to do Auslan later.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, so you've mentioned Auslan a couple times, right? For the people who are viewing now and the people who may view later, can you explain what Auslan is, what it's about, the basic premise behind it?
Yeah, so Auslan is a post-apocalyptic drama about 2 wayfarers, one of which who has found the original copy of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and begins to read it as if it's gospel. So it's about these 2 travelers in this post-apocalyptic Kansas. And as they travel, they're finding clues, or at least to a character, they're finding clues that says to him that Oz is a real place, and maybe that's what they're searching for. Maybe that's the answer to all of this. While another character is more of a non-believer type who doesn't believe anything other than just survival. And this is why we're here. We're here just to survive and keep going. And it's about their journey and how the book gets in between them, but ultimately how they can find ways.
Now, I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but one of the things that I really liked about Auslan in particular was, so my degree is in psychology, right? And one of the key components that is in Auslan with the character who is reading this Wizard of Oz book in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, there's a sense of confirmation bias, right? So he reads a passage in the book, and then he sees something later on his journey that he says, "Oh, well, this must be the Scarecrow, or this must be, what the Tin Man is." And so he keeps having that confirmation bias that reinforces this idea that maybe the Wizard of Oz to him is a historical document.
Yeah, that was the whole idea. It's pretty apocalypse. So they don't know anything about history or religion. They're only aware of what their parents told them. So one was raised by a mother, the other one was raised by a father who had very different priorities on what to teach that kid. And so you have one Leaf who is taught to read and taught to kind of be imaginative and believe in pure survival. They're different characters together, but they both have the same past, where they don't really know what the world was like before. They have snippets of what things were, and they kind of feed off of what each other knows to kind of come up with an idea of, okay, the Scarecrow might be a scarecrow, but they're trying to, one tries to figure out, or one tries to rationalize it as something real, and the other one's like, no, the book says this is what it is. So it's fun to play off that idea of, if you did not know and you were to find a book, you could read it as if it was, factual.
And so moving on to your other feature film, can you talk briefly about what Atonement was?
Yeah, so Atoning was a supernatural thriller about a family who's dealing with more than just mere ghosts, and these demons come into their life and start to rip the family apart. But there's a lot more to it than that. It has the supernatural or kind of demonic elements. Each character and why this whole ordeal has to happen.
I don't know that I've ever seen you act in any of the films. Is acting something that you wish to do in the future, or are you more at the behind the scenes, producing, writing, directing, etc.?
Right now, that's not good. Because that's just I appreciate actors. I admire what they can do. I cannot do it. I don't understand how you can be completely unaware of the technical side and get into a character. And plus, if you've ever seen me do a YouTube video, or if you were behind the scenes watching me do a YouTube video and me trying to talk, I just can't do it. And I don't know what to do with my hands, and I'm not in front of the camera person.
Fair enough. So one of the themes of Bullmoose Beer Talks is talking about money. So I'm not going to ask you like how much you made or anything, but typically, what is when you're creating a film, what's your barriers as far as expenses? What do you typically have to do as far as your hiring process, editing process, even distribution? What all goes into the whole business of creating a feature film and then distributing it, along with like partners like Amazon, Netflix, etc.
Yeah, so it's different for every project, but basically you have to have some sort of budget. So you got to figure out what does the film cost make? So Oslo cost $10,000, which is nothing compared to what most films cost. But we knew for us that was a lot of money, and we're like, oh, we can make this work for this. And obviously we had more money, would have been better, but you have to pay for just about everything. You have to pay for equipment, food, lodging, cast and crew salaries, props, location sometimes. Insurance, things like that. So Auslan was pretty easy in that regard. Like, we knew we had to spend money on. We're too naive to know any better of what we were doing and realize that what we were doing was more complicated than it should have been. But we did a fundraiser, so we didn't necessarily have investors we had to pay back. It was mostly all fundraised. So that didn't have the financial burden that something like the Atoning did, where we had investors. We have to make a product that we can sell. And so there's, depending on your film, you have different distribution options. You can do what Auslan did, which was a very small distributor that put it out on video on demand, DVD, that sort of thing. And then this past year, I took my rights back, and now I've re-released it on my own just through Blu-ray and Amazon.
I didn't know that you had to give up the rights to the movie.
Yes. So, well, you don't necessarily give up the rights. You give away, you basically license it to another company. So you give up the distribution right. So, distributor for 3 years. So for 3 years, they were the ones that were selling it and giving me a percentage. So like, they took a percentage and I got a percentage. And then once that contract was up, I could take it back. And so now I completely own Auslan, except for a couple of ancillary rights. Like, I don't have a DVD. Like, if you buy a actual DVD, I will never see money from it, because that's still tied up with another company.
Okay, you hear that, everybody? Don't buy the DVD.
So it's kind of, there's sometimes they can, yeah, like we got paid early on, but then when there's DVDs that aren't sold, you kind of have to owe them for that. And there's like this, DVD really isn't a big.
And I would have to imagine that like these days,
because basically Red buys so many copies of that DVD they have to put in their kiosk.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine that like these days, DVD isn't even all that popular of a medium for people to watch movies and stuff. Like most people I imagine our age, even younger and even a little bit older, would prefer to stream and stuff.
So if you're a collector, they want to have an actual item they can collect, or horror fans. So the Atoning has done pretty well with Blu-ray and DVD because horror fans want to have a copy. So earlier this year, we teamed up, or our distributor made a deal with Horror Pack, which is you pay us monthly subscription and you get 4 random Blu-rays in the mail. And so for January, February this year, the Atoning was one of those 4. They would have like a mainstream movie, a really hard to find special edition film, and then an indie film, and maybe another one that they'll package up and send out. So that's one way your distributor, if they have leftover DVDs, they can sell a lot of stock of the, or big wholesale of those to a company like Horror Pack, where people want to have that in their library. So that was another way. So there's all kinds of weird avenues, and that's what you have to trust your distributor to do. You have to trust your distributor to find all of those options and figure out where can we put this film out, where is it going to make money, and they'll do that for, like our contract with the Atoning, I think it's like 7 years. So it's 7 years that it'll be with this distributor. So they'll have, their first tier of release, and then a year in, they know they can go to these type of releases or whatnot to keep making money off the film even after it's been out for a while.
Now, with that said, I heard a rumor, and you can tell me if this is true or not in your experience, that horror films, regardless of their quality, will typically sell faster, a little bit better, and you can typically get a larger yield off of less investment with a horror film.
Yeah, definitely. So horror, thriller, sci-fi, those are the moneymakers, but specifically horror. And sometimes, like faith-based film or children's film, those do have markets. But if you're an independent filmmaker making a 2-person drama, post-apocalyptic adaptation of Wizard of Oz was not a big moneymaker. It's its own thing. People appreciate it, but it's not. It's mostly a drama, even though it has.
Especially when you have Zach Rakovich as your main character.
Yeah, and that helps too. But for the actual, and Zach did a great job to make. Looking for a 2-person drama a lot of times. So the people who watch it, they appreciate it. If you're going to sell a movie, a horror movie is the way to go because people will watch anything, whether it's good or bad. If you have a good poster, good trailer, they're going to check it out. And then also you have all these other websites that are just devoted to it, or even like Horror Pack. Like you probably don't have a drama pack. You're not going to have a company that you pay $20-$30 a month and get 4 random drama movies, but horror fans will do that. So definitely horror film's the way to go to make money, or thrillers, or some kind of niche genre like that. So that's why my next film is going to be a thriller. It won't be a horror, but it'll still be a thriller. So it's still sold that way, even though it's still a drama and has a lot of other stuff going with it.
Can you talk a little bit about what your next film is going to be, or what you intend it to be? Have you written it yet?
Yeah, so it's written, and it's called Rosemary. It's a psychological drama thriller about an elderly woman who's driven to the brink of madness when a mysterious abyss envelops her entire basement. And so it's all about this magical realism, that's this abyss that's in her basement, and her interacting with it, and what that really means, and what actually comes out of that abyss. And it delves into a lot of other things I can't really talk about, but that's the basic premise.
So the other thing I want to talk about, copyright. Do you have a lot of issues with copyrighting your own stuff? Have you ever had anybody try and basically give you a copyright strike? Or claim something against you guys, etc.?
No, I mean, with for Ausland, for instance, the original book is public domain.
Okay.
So we had permission for the actual physical book that we used because that was a Barnes & Noble edition. The Barnes & Noble gave us, permission to use the film. We got permission from the illustrator who did the cover. But the actual words in the book, the film off anything from the MGM film or any of the other films after that, which didn't make sense anyway because our film was only about the book. But other than that, no, like we haven't adapted anything else. But I have had films of mine that have completely been ruined by another film. So like there's a film called A Quiet Place you might have heard of that completely ruined a feature that I was trying to get off the ground 2 years ago because the trailer came out. I looked at the trailer and I was like, ooh, this looks mighty similar, but maybe it's not the same thing. Then the film came.
So something very similar actually happened to me. And
a lot of the same story points, same character dynamics, everything. That script is thrown away at this point.
Anyway, something similar to what you were talking about with A Quiet Place happened to me not too long ago. You can ask Zach about it. So I was talking to Zach, and I pitched this idea for a basically. Do you remember the movie Open Water?
Yes.
Yeah, like the people stuck out in the water or whatever. Well, I was coming up and I was writing a screenplay for. I didn't get too far into it. Like I had a rough outline of what it was going to be. It was going to be a psychological thriller, and I was thinking open water in space. And then, like maybe 8 months into me writing this, and I had told Zach about it. Like the first time I started doing it, I see the movie Gravity comes out. I was like, well, there goes my shot.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm like. I don't think anyone stole my film idea. I think it's just you have the idea of it.
Like two ideas can go.
Can sound, and you're living in a post-apocalyptic world. A lot of this. So that's kind of like where if I were to make the film is called The Hidden Few. So if I make that film as it is now, it's like people think I'm ripping it off because even the way my film resolves the whole alien problem is very much similar to the way they do it. I think it's all, scenario based. Or if you're in the scenario, that makes sense that you would do that.
So switching gears a little bit, you talked about the process of creating films. Let's talk about what the film festival, the indie film festival scene is like. Can you talk about what it's like to go to one, what it's like to be a part of one, how you submit your films, etc.? What are like the, I guess, what are the qualifications they look for in the film festival, so on and so forth?
In terms of qualifications, it's all very different. So there's a lot of different films, film festivals based on different things. But a general film festival, they're going to look for quality, originality, also the length, depending on whether or not they can program it. So basically, you just submit your films through something like Film Freeway, and you just wait to see if you get in. And every film festival is different. Sometimes it's you don't get a free pass, but sometimes you get like a hotel and everything. It depends on what kind of festival you do. So the ones around here, like the Magnolia Film Festival or Oxford Film Festival, they treat you like royalty. You get to you get a hotel room, you get free food. It's kind of like a party, but also a celebration and a way for you to network and all that sort of thing. So I always tell people, if you're wanting to get into film, the best thing to do is to either make a film and get it into a film festival, or just attend a film festival, because there's always workshops and educational opportunities or networking opportunities. And you never know what might come of a film festival. Because like I said earlier, the way I got into film was because I went to a film festival and met my future film professor, Philip Gentile, who was like, hey, you should go to school for film. And I was like, do that? I had no idea. I didn't know I could do it in Mississippi. But also I met the lady who gave me my first film job. And so she ended up hiring me a couple of years later. So you never know, what's going to come out of it as a filmmaker or an actor or whatever. And also for films, it's a great way to build your fan base. So for Unland, we had a very large, we had a very large film festival tour, but also we did our own kind of regional tour. We showed the film all around. That helped us build a fan base and ultimately helped it when we tried to release it. And for the atoning, we didn't do as big of one because it is very costly, because you have to basically sometimes worth the expense. Something like the atoning, we already knew we were going to have distribution, and we didn't, because like with Auslan, we thought, well, maybe we have to have film festival awards to get distribution. And then I realized you don't have to do a film festival. Depends on what your distribution game is, or how your path to distribution is what it's going to be. But yeah, so film festivals are a great way to network for your film. And if you never have a theatrical release, it's great to do that so you can actually see your film with an audience. Because Auslan toured for almost a year, And then I ended up cutting more than 11 minutes out before we actually released it, because I watched it for a year. Really working, like that. So it's a great way to watch a film and you realize, oh, this is not working, or this works, or get a lot of feedback that might help before you really release it.
Now, you're based out of Mississippi for the most part. What's the benefits in your mind to filming in Mississippi? Are there other states or places that you've considered branching out towards?
Yeah, well, Mississippi is a great place. Sorry if I cut you off. It kind of there's a little delay there. But yeah, so Mississippi the South in general is a great place to make movies, because most southern states, especially Mississippi, they have a film incentive. So there's actual money to be made by making a film in Mississippi. So Mississippi, for instance, you get 25% cash back on every dollar you spend in Mississippi through the Mississippi Film Incentive Program. But if you hire locals, someone like me, then you get 30% cash back on their salaries. And we just passed a new part of our legislation that adds 25% for non-resident payroll. So if you bring in a big actress, or you bring in crew that may not be in the state, and you still get cash back on that. So basically everything you spend your money on, you get 25% or more cash back. So 25 cents on every dollar you get back. And so if you're having to pay back investors, or you're needing money for post-production, that's really lucrative if you shoot in a southern state that has a film incentive. So that's the big thing. That's definitely the big thing that I'm going to push for next feature, because it's going to be a lot more expensive. And I want to show that, hey, it's a lot more expensive, but if we film Mississippi and we take advantage of these tax incentives, we get back. And so you have that, but also you have just lower expenses in terms of production or locations and things like that. But you also have a very eager crew base and cast base. You have people who are just dying to work, and they really want to work, and they'll work hard, and they'll do a good job. So there's that benefit, but also I think there's something about making movies in the South and Mississippi or wherever that you're inspired. So I'm definitely inspired by my hometown, or things that are here, or the people that I work with. And really, I'm mostly inspired by the people that I work with. Just like on Ausland, if we had a crew from with people, someone like Glenn or Casey or anybody who's on the crew, you were inspired because they were inspired by the work, and they really believe in the story. And that's something you can find when you work with Southern. They believe in the story, and they believe. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. The last thing I wanted to ask you was, are you, when you make these, are you incorporated? Have you started a business to kind of fund it? Since we're on the topic of taxes and everything, or is it Micheal Williams who's making all these?
All of the stuff before Ausland was Micheal Williams, basically, and I still have my production company, which is a single member LLC, so Shindopen Productions LLC, and that's what produced Ausland. And then for the atoning, it was a little different scenario, so you can do it differently. So for the atoning, it was company specifically for the film, and it partnered with Shindopen. It was kind of an associate with Shindopen. My next film will probably be under Shindopen. It'll be under Shindopen Productions LLC, based because the new film incentive in Mississippi does want you to be a Mississippi-based company that has a track record. And so since Shindopen does have a track record, that factors in. So it really depends on maybe the legalities of where you live, or sometimes it's better to make a company for the film partner for the people, company you're making the film, just that specific film. So it really depends on how you want to go about it.
Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Do you want me to make a drink real fast?
Oh, did you not make it yet?
Okay. Here, I'm gonna pour it.
Please do. I would like to see you make your healthy gin and tonic.
Okay. So just to give people an idea, I took some gin and I steeped it with mint for a while, probably like 6 hours or something. And so I'm just gonna do a shot or two. I'm not good at measuring, so it's like one shot. And I'm making 2 drinks, so that's why I'm doing 2 shots. 2 shots. Got a little bit of stevia.
Because you can't eat sugar if you don't.
Add some sweetness. A little bit goes a long way. Something like that. Right. So there's some lemon lime LaCroix. So I'm gonna mix that in. And then I got some fresh lime juice.
Did you ever bartend or no? You just know how to do this.
And then I got some, no. Well, Cody kind of got me into learning how to make drinks. So I've sort of just experimented and all that good stuff. And Cody can hear me making the drink, so here he comes up the stairs. All right, I have no idea if this is going to taste any good. We'll see. It's not bad. Okay. So what are you drinking?
I've been drinking the Compass IPA. It was a beer that I did in one of my previous videos. I reviewed it and talked personal finance stuff, so it was good. Okay. Cool.
So, I guess in terms of financial advice, or what would you give, being someone who worked really well with stocks, or I guess you've done stocks and different things, because as a filmmaker you also don't have a retirement because you're self-employed. So you're just hoping at some point you make a movie big enough that you can make your own retirement. So advice on that.
My absolute advice, it would be buy and hold index funds, or pick and choose well-known stocks with high yield dividends. If you want, you can try and day trade and trade very, very frequently. I don't recommend that, just because doing that level of research on a daily basis is exhausting. You make more mistakes than you get stuff right. And essentially, if you want to do that, you have to be really, really lucky. But if you want sure, sustainable growth, index funds, so example, a fund that would track the Dow, or a fund that would track the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, etc., those will grow over time and give you a nice, healthy retirement in 30 to 40 years. But you're not going to get rich doing it.
Yeah. Well, getting rich isn't, I guess, as important. We kind of want to, as filmmakers, we want to have security.
I was going to say that's what making film is for. Getting rich is what making a film is for.
I can get rich. If people are watching, don't go in if you want to get rich. Go into filmmaking. I mean, it can be. That's the goal. That's what you hope would happen. But really, realistically, you want to be able to pay the bills and make a good living for yourself, but also be able to make good films. And I think it's ultimately, if you make good films, then that success will come at some point. That's what I keep telling myself. So,
one day. That's why I made a YouTube channel, because hopefully one day I'll get enough subscribers to start making money off of this. So.
Yeah. Well, before they changed their algorithm, I was making a little bit off just what I had on my YouTube channel, and they changed it to get to have so many subscribers. So
that was going to be my next question. So you put a lot of time and effort into these large projects. Have you considered starting, just like a smaller YouTube channel, and just providing updates on the projects that you're doing, or doing some sort of book review or some sort of film review, or the stuff that your expertise is in?
Could you repeat that? It kind of broke up on me, and I didn't quite get it.
I just have you considered doing your own basically YouTube channel, because you put all this time and effort into the larger projects? Just having a YouTube channel for the smaller things, or for example, putting your short films on a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I've thought about it. Like, I'm gonna put my next short film on Amazon Prime, because you can put short films on there now, and you can make money off the views and that sort of thing. And for was a lot of Ozland. There's basically instructional videos or behind the scenes that hopefully be inspiring to other filmmakers, but also as kind of promotion for Ozland. And I put a lot of effort into that. And I'm so glad that stuff's out there, but it didn't really, I don't think it really paid off in terms of advertising. I mean, maybe that's slowly why people keep watching it. Maybe they're continually discovering those things. And I love content, but also for the atoning, I just didn't have behind the scenes footage or anything like that. And also I just didn't have the time to really, I would love to go back and make, retrospective behind the scenes on how we did things. We did a lot of cool stuff in it, but it's just, is it time versus like, is it worth your time type thing?
Mm-hmm. Whatever you
Kinda
just
like
whatever you just said, I think you cut out.
Oh, I was saying, like, I would love, if I had the time, I'd love to do online master classes or things like that to really show people, how I do things. I don't necessarily do things that may not work for everyone, but I can show you what my experience is or what I do. And I want to do that. It's just not do while you're on and find the time to do. That's kind of where I am now. Is I have to just hide away from people and hide away from projects to get my next film off the ground, and then hopefully work on that for a while, and then it doesn't leave time for YouTube content. But I wish I have time for that. So I'm glad I can do stuff like this.
Well, if I have your permission, as the owner and creator of Ozland, to use Ozland footage, I would gladly do a video review of Ozland and try to get it out to as many people as I can.
Yeah, definitely. You can use whatever's on YouTube, or if you need something, let me know. There's all kinds of videos, so use whatever.
Awesome. Actually, I have the DVD or the Blu-ray of Ozland. I don't have a toning, I don't think, but I can purchase that. So.
Sweet.
Awesome. Anyways, everyone, that's all that we have for you today. Thank you for stopping by, the few of you that did. This has been a Bullmoose Beer Talk Drinking Buddy segment. Good night.